Welcome to True Health Tuesdays repeat edition. Okay, we did a talk last night. I forgot to plug in the camera and the camera ran out of power, okay? And Victor, who is now getting married, our camera guy, couldn't do the cool live Facebook thing. So if you're watching this live on Facebook, you're not going to see the cool slides that I have up here the way he normally would, because he thinks being married and getting married on a honeymoon is more important than us. Okay, God bless him. I wish him all the luck in the world. It's a blast to be married. Okay, so what we're going to do is you can get all this stuff on the drbvip.com site. Okay, and that's going to be all the slides and everything else, because the information we're presenting on this, the version that I think will get by the censors, is vital, okay? The information that we have on the Dr. BVIP site that will be censored is essential to survive on our planet. Now, when we look at this, resistance to the government, Henry David Thoreau, 1849, individuals should not permit governments to overrule or atrophy their consciences. They have the duty to avoid allowing such acquiescence, to enable the government to make them agents of injustice. That means if you find injustice, it is your duty to rectify it. All this stuff will be on the Dr. BVIP. If you're watching it live on that, don't worry about it. It's going to go right through. But when you're on that site, take advantage of it. Get the handouts, get the links, share the links, because that information literally will change our world. It's also going to be on Extreme Health Academy, which is amazing. I worked there about 2.5 hours doing a webinar, and it's fun to talk to people around the world. But also, it's amazing because you're going to see health challenges that with health solutions. Now, when we look at diagnosing, now this is the Western Journal of Medicine. Traditional medicine needs a clear diagnosis that corresponds with a particular disease. Relying on a precise diagnosis may be counterproductive for both physicians and patients. Physicians may find themselves increasingly frustrated by their inability to understand and solve the problem. Absolutely. So when we're looking at this, if you have a diagnosis, that means, like, let's say you have high blood pressure or type 2 diabetes. And high blood pressure, a doctor gives an aspirin, which is appropriate for that diagnosis. However, that aspirin can cause kidney damage, increased stroke, and gastrointestinal bleeding. They will not get in trouble because they're doing something precisely for that diagnosis. Okay, so, and that's one of the reasons that diagnoses are a patient is labeled with this to protect any side effects from the therapies that they're doing. Now, it's interesting because I figure a diagnosis isn't the cause. Like if 100 people have fibromyalgia, or 10 people, do they all have the same diet, the same stressors, the same past history? No, none of that stuff is answered. Now, for patients, the need to be a clear diagnosis for their experience may shift their focus to symptoms to the exclusion of all other aspects of their life. Inevitably, everything becomes a possible trigger of symptoms, creating an atmosphere of fear. That whole symptom diagnosis is insane. Because think of this, oh, I still have pain. I even get patients, they'll say, doc, it still hurts. And I'll say, really, why, when? Well, when I go like this, I can still feel it. Okay, I get that. Okay, so symptoms are 10% of the nervous system. I mean, they're important because they bring you in, but you really got to look at the source of that. I mean, let's look at some of the stuff. Fibromyalgia. Okay, that's I think the third book I wrote on how to correct it. The cause is unknown. Complex regional pain syndrome, okay? It's believed to be caused by damage or malfunctioning of the peripheral and central nervous systems. Really, nervous system that you're born with, that's thousands of generations old, all of a sudden it malfunctions? Are we looking at the cause of that malfunction, the physical, chemical, or emotional stress that contribute to it? No. Hypertension, that was the second book I wrote on how to correct high blood pressure. And again, idiopathic, they just don't know. Inflammatory bowel disease, the exact cause of inflammatory bowel disease remains unknown. How would you like to go to a mechanic? Remember, you got these labels, these delusion of diagnosis. You got this label of inflammatory bowel disease, and no one's asking about your history? Okay, and that's why. So medication after medication after medication, no No injury or disease out there is from lack of medications. Imagine this. If we change that delusion of diagnosis into the body is intelligent, it responds correctly based on the environment and the stimulus. Does that make more sense? Yes or yes? Absolutely. Hypothyroidism. The main cause of hypothyroidism is Hashimoto's. The main cause of Hashimoto's is unknown. Yes, I know. California, it must be legal everywhere. I mean, here's a nightmare. Okay, here's a story. 28-year-old kid, okay? And we're talking autoimmune condition. But when did it start? Multiple ear infections, 6 to 8 lots of amoxicillin. Now, ear infections, that usually has to do with an upper cervical problem. British Medical Journal went in because, you see all these red bulging tympanic membranes and doctors think, wow, must be infected. Let's give an antibiotic. Except the British Medical Journal takes the fluid, puts it in a petri dish, and finds out 93% of the time nothing grew. So it's sterile. So that means, and in fact, everybody in here, if you do me a favor, swallow. You hear that crackling? That's swallowing? Okay, you just flex the soft palate and that drain the eustachian tube, and that drains the middle ear. Now, if you have an upper cervical subluxation, like let's say this kid, let's say the mom got Pitocin, great. Initiating uterine contraction, shamming that kid's head up against the cervix, and that's going to cause an upper cervical problem. Could that also cause ear infections? Absolutely. But now you give the kid an antibiotic or a poisonous mold that destroys the gut flora. Where's 80% of the immune system? Then kid goes up, 9 full vaccinations. Okay, 72 doses of 17 different vaccines by the time they're 17. 100% of the kids going through that have behavioral, bowel, breathing, or skin issues. Except you can't say that on regular. We might get pulled off for saying that, but it is the truth. 18 months and 14 years, tonsillitis repeatedly. So what else did he get? Another poisonous mold, a poisonous mold. And this is called antibiotics. Anti means against, bio means life. So these things are destroying the gut flora. Multiple rounds of that. 80% of the immune system, that's also going to cause a leaky gut. Sure enough. Fussy eater. No kidding. You eat something and you get undigested proteins in the bloodstream. This creates an inflammatory response and an immune system response of hypersensitization. Because if the body recognizes foreign proteins that haven't been tempered by digestion, it flips out. This causes the immune system response. Stress and anxiety at school, no kidding. Serotonin production, that's going to be shut down, okay, because of the multiple courses of antibiotics and the chronic chemical stressors. Pain in the appendix, no kidding. Appendix is designed to repopulate the intestinal tract with healthy gut bacteria, and you're already wiping it out. Walking pneumonia, iron deficiency, of course, when you're in stress, you produce less stomach acid, you can't get it in there. Crohn's disease, Jesus, at 15, think of that. Do you think it's genetic? Do you think it's bad luck or bad genes? Are any of these doctors looking at the physical, chemical, or emotional stress and then ends up with an inflammatory disease and autoimmune condition? Think of this, okay? High blood pressure. What you're looking at here on these x-rays, you're looking at see that tube in front of the middle picture there? That's the descending aorta. That's hardening of the arteries, atherosclerotic plaquing. Now, it's true, medications can cause that and toxic food can cause that, but that is not normal. That's not a normal part of aging. Now, when you see that, what happens? Your arteries lose that elasticity, and then stress is going to increase and blood pressure has to increase. But when your doctor says, I am much smarter than your body's response to the environmental stressors, your blood pressure is too high, I'm going to give you a chemical to lower it. What happens? All the arteries constrict in order to get the blood pressure back up, and that causes increased stress. Mind-blowing. 6 out of 10 Americans have a chronic illness or disease, heart disease, cancer, COPD, strokes, Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, or chronic kidney disease. Does that seem normal for a herd of animals? No. This is psychotic because living with this delusion of diagnosis where you go to the doctor and he's going to say, okay, your collection of symptoms put you in this category. Really, does it? Are you categorizing me for my symptoms or for my lifestyle? Okay, you have poor work habits. You sit a lot. You're not eating healthy fruits or vegetables. You're eating fast food. That's the category you should be put in, not a collection of symptoms. A collection of symptoms are adaptations. Now, if you look at the COVID, current pandemic that we're going on, you had to have 3.8 comorbid conditions to die of COVID. Okay, so these are the conditions that people are dying of. Okay, you happen to get something that's no worse than the flu. Okay, so You like the self-censoring? Okay, just checking. Okay, cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, COPD. All of these conditions, are these really diagnoses or diseases, or are they adaptations to physical, chemical, emotional stress? Pain, infections, blood pressure, diabetes. Are these adaptations to physical, chemical, and emotional stress? Look at around 300 years ago, Voltaire. Doctors are men who prescribe medicines of which they know little. Oh, Vioxx killed more people than the Vietnam War, and that was approved. To cure diseases which they know less. Obviously, we just mentioned several diseases that they have no idea what come from. In human beings, which they know nothing. That's suspect. Autonomic nervous system. You live your life through your nervous system. You have two parts. One keeps you alive under stress, which is firing off great on me now. The other part, rest, digest, and repair. Tonight, that baby's going to be working because I'm going to be snoozing. Look at this. Okay, these are two kids. You look into the kid on the right, that is an abnormal bowel gas, a leaky gut. The kid on the left is normal. And I had one of our kid patients actually come up with names for these. So, awesome dude, Astro guy. So they're cool. But look at this. Do you think that's bad luck or bad genes? Or do you think that these kids had some type of problem going through, like maybe some type of chemicals, or was their mother under stress or something? Is that inflammatory bowel disease an actual disease, or is it an adaptation to stress? Your belief system of your doctor is vital on this, vital. Okay, if your doctor is going to try and categorize the symptoms, but he's not asking you what caused the symptoms, where did they come from, change doctors. Health. Two. That's health. That's a normal response to environmental pathogens. A fever, coughing, snot coming out your nose. That is a normal response. The cure for the common cold is the common cold. You can't be afraid of the environment. That's an immune system. If you drop a brick on your foot and it doesn't hurt, that is not health. That's pathology. Okay, that's neurologic problems. So when we look at this, health is a healthy adaptation to the environment. Dis-ease, and this is what chiropractors, it's a lack of ease. That's an inability to adapt. That's bottom line. So if you're looking at this allopathetic model, okay, and this is what it is, a diagnosis, a discovery of what your symptoms are, not your lifestyle changes, not anything that could be influencing your symptoms, just what your symptoms are. Put you in a category, they give you a chemical to alter your physiology. Welcome to modern care. What is that doing? 60% of Americans in that system have a chronic illness or disease they will never recover from. 54% of the children will never recover from. If you have lost faith in that system, what's going to happen? You got challenges. You decline in that system. So let's start a new belief system. Let's start a religion or a belief system, okay, that your body is intelligent, designed to live here, self-healing and self-regulating. My God, what a nice thing. Maybe you're made in the image and likeness of God. If you don't read those books, okay, you got billions of years of evolution. No matter how you look at it, your body's smart. So any symptom that you have is an adaptive physiologic response. That is what we do, is we support the systems. If you're coughing, sneezing, beautiful, we build the fever. We give you the appropriate nutrients. We take the pressure off the nervous system. We get your body to work correctly. How about vitalism? Vitalism, you have an innate inborn intelligence in your system. If you're eating a bagel like that man, okay, his body right now is breaking down the carbohydrates in the mouth. The stomach is going to produce the stomach acid to break the proteins to amino acids. The fats are going to be absorbed in the duodenum. And he's just saying right now, look, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. I'm processing digestion. No, you don't got to do that. Your body does it normally. This is how the system works. It's called the automatic or autonomic system. It's amazing. You are built by God. Look at this kid. We've heard this story so many times. Born perfect, 18 months, then all of a sudden seizure, fevers, screaming, everything else, okay? And, there's not a big investigation into this, okay? But there are people that know what causes this system. Is it bad luck or bad genes or an adaptation to a toxic and deficient environment? Are we getting toxins into the system? Let's look at the environmental causes. Microbiome, this is the gut flora. The gut flora is 80% of your immune system. And that gut flora can be damaged by virtually every medication. We're talking Advil, Tylenol, Motrin, Aleve, blood pressure, everything, every kind of medication out there. when you're looking at this, controlling symptoms with chemicals, and that's what our system is, does not make sense. Now, you have chemicals that your body secretes. These are called endogenous pharmacotherapy, that your body secretes every glucocorticosteroid, minocorticosteroid, sex hormone, every hormone that you require, every chemical that you require. Your body produces a pain reliever 40 times more powerful than street heroin. Baby, okay? And that's the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands are amazing, but they use cholesterol to produce those hormones. You talk about immune system, every system of the body is involved in it. Your circulatory, muscular, skeletal, nervous system, digestive system, it's all involved in your immune system. So if you have an immune system issue, should you check all of the systems? Yes or yes? Absolutely. What about cholesterol? Okay, let's look at how the psychotic world of diagnosis, the delusion of diagnosis is. You got elevations in cholesterol. What does cholesterol do? Well, it's vital for hormone production, vital for vitamin D production, vital for cortisol production, vital for bile production, so you can break down fats and amino acids. Or emulsion fats, so you get the fatty acids. Now, if you take a drug to lower that cholesterol, what happens? You increase heart failure and hardening of the arteries. Let's say you have glucocorticosteroids, okay? Prednisone, all of those things, okay? They're given from rashes, asthma, lupus, whatever. Oh my gosh, suicide behavior and psychiatric disorders, if you take them. University of Alabama, if you got high blood pressure, you take a drug to lower it, guess what? Your doctor is saying he's smarter than your own physiology. So you take a drug and lower it, what happens? Your arteries got to constrict, like putting your thumb over a hose to get it back up. And so what does this article say, or this journal? It goes in there, the article, and it says that if you lower your blood pressure, you get a 30% increased risk of stroke if you're taking one drug. If you're taking 3 drugs, you have a 248% increase in stroke. So, well, wait, what did the medical world say is the cause of high blood pressure? Unknown. Antihistamines. Okay, good. You're having trouble sleeping. We're going to give you an Excedrin PM, but you're going to end up with Alzheimer's. Okay, lower your blood glucose 9% with metformin or glucophage. We're not going to change your diet or look at your sleep patterns. We're just going to lower it. Of course, 19% increase in death. Or you could learn to read Gabriel Cousins, How to Correct Type 2 Diabetes, typically 30 to 45 days. That's what we do in our office. So what are we going to do right now? This is what we have to do. If you're aware that there is some other system, something better that's life-supporting, that's not based in chemicals control of the symptoms, let's clean up the food system. Whatever you're going to eat becomes you. Okay, so no GMOs, no toxic foods, no processed foods. Clean up the healthcare. That means if your doctor isn't going to look at your lifestyle or how your body adapts, okay, find another doctor. Environment, we got to clean this up so we have good air, good water. Politics. Anybody happy with the political system now? Baby, 5 months, we go from energy independent to closed, open borders, and we're importing oil. I mean, they have tons of gas in Pennsylvania. They can't get a pipeline up to New England. Okay, New England has to get their natural gas from Russia. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, and infrastructure. And I'm not talking about pork bills that we're going to pay off, political committees. I'm talking about building roads and waters. I mean, that makes sense. Okay, we're going to get into the dangerous information now. Okay, just know when we talk about delusion of diagnosis, we're talking about literally not looking at your lifestyle, not looking at the physical, chemical, or emotional stressors, not asking you about your past, not asking about bowel movements to see how your autonomic nervous system is functioning. It's just common sense. If you have a diagnosis, find a doctor that can actually look for the cause and correct the cause, not deal with the symptoms with a toxic medicine that can have other effects. Does that make sense? Okay, good. We're gonna shut this feed off, okay? And while Sarah's slowly coming up to shut off the Facebook feed, I just had to show you this one. Okay. I don't know if you can see this, okay? But a friend was asking me about masks for dogs to protect from COVID. Okay, when I see a person with a mask and they're walking a dog, I go up to the dog and I go, "Does your master bite?" Okay. Not a way to win friends and influence people, but I just thought this is cool. Those are not muzzles. Those are masks to stop the dog from spreading. They lick their own butthole. Okay? Come on. You're going to put a mask over this? I mean, how do you say hello when you're a dog? Okay, that's not how to go on dates. Okay, you better stop because we're going to get into some big stuff.